that feeling when you're excited about an idea? Maybe it's a YouTube video, a business idea, or an event that you want to plan and you're genuinely excited about it. But the moment it's time to take the first step to turn that idea or that dream into reality, something inside of you freezes. Something halts you. And all of a sudden, that excitement you originally had slowly fades. And then you wonder, maybe it wasn't that great of an idea, or what in the world is going on? What's happening to me? Why am I freezing? Or maybe you take the first step, then all of a sudden, all these challenges start to arrive. An unexpected bill pops up. People start talking negatively about you on social media, and you're thinking, wait a minute, hold on. I'm trying to do something good here. I'm trying to do something that will advance the kingdom. I'm trying to obey God. I'm trying to use my gifts and steward them well. So why so much opposition? What's happening here? Hi, I'm Christina Patterson, host of the Beloved Studio podcast, where we help Christian entrepreneurs, communicators, and content creators create an influence that makes an impact. And today, I want to talk to you about why starting a business or acting on your creative ideas that God has given you can feel so scary and overwhelming, and why it seems like every time you try to do something good, opposition just shows right on up. I remember when I was making a big change in my business, something I was excited about and ready to move forward with in faith. And then what felt like out of nowhere, I got audited by the IRS. And it was wild because I have an accountant. We keep my numbers organized and in order. So I wasn't worried about it. But at first, I was intimidated. Like, wait, my little business? Why is the IRS even worried about me? But then I pulled myself together and said, okay, let me get them whatever evidence or paperwork that they need. So then I sent everything over and I'm thinking, cool, we're good. And then they came back like, no, that's not enough. We need A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, okay, that's a little wild, but I find all my records, I gather all of my receipts, I talk to my accountant and another accountant about everything that I need, and I submit again. And this is taking so much of my time because I'm having to go back for an entire year and just check every line item. And then they come back again like, that's still not enough. Now, at this point, I felt like they were just really trying to get me. Like they were looking for something. Like what more evidence do you need? And so I really did start to feel discouraged. I felt like I had the entire United States government on my back and it was just little old me. And if I couldn't prove whatever it is they wanted from me, I was going to have to owe thousands of dollars, money that I didn't have in the business at that time. Now, it wouldn't have been the end of the business, but it definitely would have set us back significantly. And I was already in a season where I thought we were going to be making some serious progress and momentum forward. So I'm sitting there like, what in the world? This is not what I expected. I just remember in that season feeling so fatigued and tired. It had been weeks and weeks and weeks of back and forth with the IRS. And during that time, I was putting off creating videos. I wasn't really tending to my customers like I normally would because I was busy trying to make sure that I didn't get swallowed up by Uncle Sam. So one day I was so frustrated. I had just got home from dropping the kids off that morning and I was like, I got to get back on my computer. I got to get this paperwork together. I got to get back to them. But I was exhausted and I thought, you know what? Let me take a nap. So I lay down and I took a nap. And when I woke up, I felt like God gave me this supercharge of strength and energy and resilience. It was like, no, we are a good business. We have our paperwork in order. Let me get up. Let me get back to this, right? And sometimes that taught me you just need a nap. You just need to rest when you've been beat down. And let God restore your soul. And then you can get back up and get back into the game stronger than ever, right? So this is the third time I'm submitting all the paperwork, hundreds of pages, itemized budgets, all the craziness, right? And finally, a few weeks later, I get a letter that said, okay, never mind, you're good. Okay, thanks for sending me through all of that, because I knew we were good from the beginning, but honestly, that situation really rocked me. I remember talking to one of my friends at the time and just feeling so small. I felt like I can't come against the IRS. If they want my business to be done, then it's done. And I just really let that situation get to me. I let it get in my head, and I started questioning my own competency and my skill as a business leader in general. And seriously, y'all, if I'm honest with you, I really started considering quitting, because I was feeling like I might not have had a choice. And I was like, maybe this is too much. Maybe I'm not built for this. I don't have a big team. I don't have enough money. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just a Bible teacher. I'm not built for this, blah, 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 right? Maybe this is just too much for me. I wanted to quit. And I remember my friend looking at me like, girl, are you crazy? And honestly, it did feel like a logical decision at the time because I was just overwhelmed and tired. But the truth is, that kind of talk was rooted in fear. I was afraid. And I know that fear, and I know you know this too, does not come from God. God has not given us a spirit of fear. But when God is in something, when He has called you to a thing, I don't care what government, what power, what principality comes against you, God will see you through. I can't tell you how many times I've wondered if my ministry or my business was going to make it. There were moments where I said, Lord, if we don't get this $500, we might have to cut the lights. But every single time at 11:59, God came through. One thing that I've learned after 20 years in ministry and over 13 years in business and content creation is this. When you're doing something good, there is always going to be opposition. It's just part of the journey. But the moment we stop hiding from it to rise to the occasion, that's when we find momentum. That's when we tap into the courage, the fuel, and the power we need to keep going. Because when you trust that God will carry you through whatever comes your way, that's when real traction starts to happen. And so today, I want to talk to you about why we face that resistance, especially as Christian entrepreneurs. Because as Christians, we already know we have a target on our back. We know we have a real enemy of our souls. But I want to go even deeper. I want to pull back another layer and talk about why the enemy specifically attacks Christian entrepreneurs. John 10:10 tells us that the thief, talking about the enemy, comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy wants to steal your momentum, your passion, your fuel for your business, and the heart that God's given you for the work that He's called you to do. He wants to kill your dreams before you've even given them a chance to flourish. And he wants to destroy your business and the kingdom impact it is meant to have. Because ultimately, the enemy is working to prevent kingdom impact. And business is one of the ways that God is using His daughters and sons to bring light and freedom into this world. But the problem is, a lot of times we show up unarmed. And as Christian entrepreneurs, sometimes we're only expecting the enemy to show up when we're going to church or when we're stepping into traditional ministry. We think he only attacks when we're preaching or leading Bible study. But hear me, if you believe in Jesus, you are a minister, no matter what work you are doing. If you're a nurse, a teacher, a doctor, you are still a minister of the gospel. And that goes especially for my entrepreneurs as well. You are bringing light into the marketplace, and the enemy does not like that because he knows that if you succeed, you will influence lives. Even if you're not directly teaching the Bible or preaching the gospel, the way you do business, the way you live your life, people are watching. You have an influence, and it's that influence the enemy is trying to destroy. But also, the enemy knows that if you succeed in your business, you're going to create resources for good, resources that will help other people. And you'll model God's goodness through your work and your faith. Why? Because you're going to do business differently. You're coming from a different worldview than everyone else. You're coming from a gospel perspective, and that perspective will penetrate into everything you do, how you serve your customers, the products you create, how you speak to your vendors. That light is going to shine through all of it. And the enemy wants to stop that light before it even starts. So just to be clear, I want to share with you the 5 reasons why the enemy does not want you to start your business. I want to break down why you may be facing opposition as you step into that new dream or that new vision that God has given you. And of course, how to overcome. Number 1, your business is an act of obedience. Those dreams and ideas you have on your heart, they didn't just come out of nowhere. God gave them to you. They are a gift from God, and it's your responsibility to steward them well through obedience. When God calls you to something, your response matters. Your answer is simple: obey. Do what he told you to do. So if he's called you to start a business, then not starting a business would actually be disobedience. And the enemy resists obedience. He doesn't want you to obey God. He wants you aligned with his schemes instead of God's purposes and plans for your life. But here's the thing: if the enemy can stop you from even starting, he can abort the dream before it's ever birthed. He knows that your business will have a ripple effect. He knows the impact you're called to make, and he wants to stop it at the seed stage. He doesn't want you to get a glimpse of what God is trying to do. But when you overcome that temptation to quit, when you take that first step of obedience and start seeing God move, it fuels you to keep going. And it's that kind of obedience and momentum that the enemy fears. Number 2, the enemy is attacking you and your business because your business will help set people free. Through your offers, your message, and the way that you serve and bring light into darkness, you are preaching a message that may never be spoken from a pulpit, but it's still one that has power to transform lives. Your business might reach people who will never walk into a church, but through your work, they will encounter the love, excellence, and truth of Jesus Christ. And the enemy fears that. He fears your voice, not just the words you speak, but how you move through life in business with boldness and purpose. The enemy only attacks what he considers a threat, what he's afraid of. So if you're facing heavy opposition, intense fear, or overwhelming doubt as you pursue the business dreams God gave you, it's because you're a threat. And believe it or not, that's a good thing. Number 3, the enemy attacks your business because it models abundance and kingdom living. Many Christians, including myself, have wrestled with a scarcity mindset. This is the false idea that having less somehow makes us more spiritual. But that's not true. Your thriving business can actually testify to God's provision and abundance. Now, I'm not talking about a prosperity gospel here, but I am saying business, it's God's idea. The marketplace is God's idea. And every good thing we experience in this world comes from him. So depriving ourselves of God's goodness through the work of our business does not make us more spiritual. The enemy wants us to think it does because he doesn't want us to create the resources we're called to create. He doesn't want us using those resources to advance the kingdom, especially if that is exactly what God is calling us to do. One of the reasons I stepped into business coaching is because God gave me a clear vision, not just of how it would help other Christian women fulfill their calling, but how it would help me continue mine. Through coaching and consulting, I'm able to create the resources I need to keep writing Bible studies, filming free videos for my YouTube channel, and supporting my ministry work. The enemy would love to stop that. And I really struggled here at first. I was like, oh, should I just stick to just Bible studies? Or I shouldn't be talking about business? But God showed me, no, the business that I'm giving you is what will sustain those Bible studies. The entrepreneur in you can support the ministry in you. Sometimes business is God's provision. We're waiting on a handout, a big donation, and God is saying, what's in your hand? I think of the widow in the Bible. Elisha told her to gather jars, fill them with oil, and sell them. She became a businesswoman. God could have miraculously provided like he did for the widow at Zarephath, but he didn't. Instead, he chose to provide through a business. That is still provision. That's still holy, and it's no less worthy than any other way. Which leads me to the 4th reason why the enemy wants to attack your business. Your business will fund kingdom work. Business profits support ministries, missions, generosity, and the enemy does not want any of that. He's convinced so many of us to believe the lie that business is inherently greedy, that if you want to start a business, you must be selfish. But I want to ask you, why do you want the money from the business that you want to start or the business that you are running? If your answer is, I want to support my ministry, meet a family need, help someone in need, that's not greed. That's stewardship. That's kingdom-minded business at its best. The enemy will try to use fear, imposter syndrome, and overwhelm to paralyze Christian entrepreneurs so that we stay stuck and don't do anything. One movie that really encouraged me recently was The Forge with Priscilla Schreier. It's about a businessman who mentors a young man. Now, he's not a pastor. He's an entrepreneur. He hires this young man, he leads him to Christ, and he helps shape him into a godly man. And it's through his business that he funds his work, his ministry, and he helps people in powerful ways. Now, I highly recommend that you watch this movie because it offers such a fresh and necessary perspective on what ministry can actually look like. It's not always behind a pulpit. Sometimes it's in the office. Sometimes it's in a webinar. Sometimes it's how you show up on a sales call or on a spreadsheet that you're presenting or at a conference. It might not look like preaching, but it is still ministry. It is still kingdom work. And finally, the enemy wants to attack your business because your business is going to activate others. As you overcome opposition and rise to the occasion, you're going to inspire other women to do the same. The enemy wants to discourage that because he knows that your courage will multiply more courage in the kingdom, leading to more kingdom businesses, more stepping into purpose, and more advancing God's work. That's why he wants to isolate and silence you, to stop the chain reaction. Don't let him do that. Someone needs to see your courage so they can find their own. They need to see your obedience, your faith, your boldness, because they're going to face opposition too. But if they can see how you push through, they'll know that they can do it as well. Your obedience then becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness. Yes, even in your business. So the enemy will oppose you with fear, insecurity, imposter syndrome. He'll use perfectionism, procrastination, confusion, and indecision. He'll tempt you to strive in the flesh and do it all on your own and only focus on money instead of walking in grace. And let's not forget the comparison trap, where you start to think, why even bother? Someone's already doing this. But here's the truth. God still called you. He knows what everybody else is doing, and still, he gave you the vision. It wasn't by a mistake. It was a divine assignment. No matter how the enemy is coming at you, I want to encourage you with Isaiah 54, verse 17, that says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Here's the thing. The enemy can oppose you, but he can't defeat you. The decision is not in his hands. It's in yours. You have the power to either trust God and move forward anyways, or shrink back in fear. But the power to choose, that's yours. Starting a business as a Christian woman is an act of kingdom boldness. And I want you to know, God will equip you for the work that he's called you to do. He will not leave you hanging. Yes, the enemy will oppose you, but he cannot stop you when you abide in Christ and move forward in faith. Trust me, I've been through many battles over these past 20 years, and I can tell you without a doubt, God is faithful. So here's what I want you to do this week. Identify where you're feeling the most resistance in your business and ask yourself, is it spiritual? Because yes, there are natural challenges that we face every day. Cash flow issues, team dynamics, personal stress, all things. But some of it's spiritual. And I want your spiritual eyes open as you build your business. Take one step forward this week, despite the opposition that you're facing. Just one step, and watch God move, because he honors obedience and faithfulness. And if this episode encouraged you, I wanted you to share it with another woman who needs this reminder too, because y'all, we are in this together. And also, if you've been feeling the resistance that I've been talking about in this video and wondering if you're really called to do this, let me encourage you again. You are. You don't have to strive. You don't have to burn out or chase trends to build something impactful. There is a peaceful, purposeful way to grow your business, and I want to show you how. I want to invite you to my Calm Creator Masterclass, where I will show you how to generate consistent income with purposeful content that aligns with your calling without having to chase all the changing trends, hoping to go viral, or burning out. It's completely free, it's powerful, and it's packed with the clarity and strategy you need to move forward in confidence. Sign up now at ChristinaPatterson.com and I'll see you there. Thank you for joining me in this episode, and I'll talk to you in the next one.